Are you looking for the ultimate sports experience? Well, look no further. My name is Jake Masucci, and I host a podcast called Jake's Takes. I am currently a sophomore at Oakland University and am a student manager with the men's basketball program. I started this sports podcast about 6 months ago, and I fell in love. I've been covering NFL, college football, and NBA, and going super in depth with it. I bring on a lot of guests to talk about each sport that they're passionate about. I've even covered some hockey, some baseball. We even dove into some Marvel comics, which was super fun. So this podcast covers a lot, and I've really been enjoying myself. We come out Mondays every week, and we'll even sprinkle in some weekdays. We'll be on Wednesdays sometimes. We'll be on Thursdays sometimes. We'll be on Friday. So sprinkling in every once in a while. The podcast is available on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And we also have a great YouTube going up. So subscribe to the Spotify, subscribe to YouTube, do whatever you got to do to support the channel. And I really appreciate it. And I'll hopefully see you guys on the next episode of Jake's Takes, but enjoy listening to Giovanni. Peace.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, right here on 88.3 FM, WXOU, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Oakland University, and all your wonderful station identification features. I'm your host, Giovanni Mosheri, and also your sports media director here at WXOU. And the GioMoShow is your home for all Oakland sports and beyond on 88.3 FM. Don't forget to follow WXOU on our MAB award-winning social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I am also on those platforms as well, still waiting for the MAB accreditation, but you can follow me as well. The GioMoShow has its own Instagram page at the GioMoShow. You can go give me a follow for all the latest news and updates on the GioMoShow, and as well as some little bit about your host as well. And if you're not with me right now on 88.3 FM, then you can find the GioMoShow at any time on YouTube and Spotify. All episodes of the GioMoShow get recorded and uploaded, so there's no way to miss the GioMoShow. And we got a lot to cover today. I was kind of close getting ready for the show here today, but we got a lot to get into. We got coverage of not only Oakland NCAA sports, but we're going to give a shout out to the club sports of the world. And I can't possibly get to all of them because there's 30 of them. But we're going to give some shout outs to some of the club sports. If you're listening now and you want to get on the show, then just go to at the GioMO show on Instagram. Hit me with the DM. Twitter at the GIO or at GioMoSherry WXOU. You could DM me on Twitter as well. Any way to get in contact with me, then please don't hesitate to do it, and I'll get your club featured on the GioMoShow, and we'll try to get a game on the radio as well. We're working with the club sports scene here. But in addition to our club sports, like I mentioned, Oakland NCAA sports, men's and women's soccer, volleyball, the whole 9 yards. We got also... We're going to talk about the Lions and Falcons that happened last week. I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it yet. But, of course, today is game day. Today is the day. In almost 2 hours, the Lions will take on the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau on prime time. It's Thursday, so it's like the lesser of prime times. But still, our Lions take on the Packers in what is a important division game that is a statement-making game. It is one for everyone to see. And don't worry about it being on Thursday. Since it's a local game, you can find it on Fox 2. Don't worry about Amazon Prime. They get enough money. Fox 2 is where you can watch the Lions game, but WXOU is where you can hear my thoughts going into the game. And before we get started, you know the deal. We got to talk about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels, and that means a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order in their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so you know he knows what he's doing. Make sure to grab a cannoli as well while you're there. Bart's Pizza. It's too good. And to delay the sports even more, we got some news from WXOU. Before we get into anything, I want to talk to you guys about what you can expect from WXOU live sports. This Saturday, the men's soccer team, they take on the Milwaukee Panthers at the Oakland soccer field at 1 p.m. You can hear that on WXOU. We got John Kloss and Harj Buttar on the call for that game. And also, that Saturday, later that day, 7 o'clock, your D1 club hockey team, they take on the RIT Tigers, and you can hear a recorded cast from WXOU expected to come out the next day. Expect that game to come out on our YouTube channel on Sunday. You get to get a little shout-out to our D1 club hockey. And speaking of our D1 club hockey team, they are the subject of today's GioMoShow interview, as we got both Stefano and Parker in the studio to talk about their club sport, to talk about their journey through hockey, and to give me a little bit of a look into the world of hockey. It's not one I've explored too much, and it's something that I'm very interested in getting into. So we get to learn about Stefano and Parker later on the GioMoShow. So be sure to stick around to the very end. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but easier to watch. So finally, let's get into some of the club sports. And forgive me if this seems a little bit scatterbrained, if this seems a little bit like a shotgun of information. There's a lot of teams and it's a lot of quick information. But like I mentioned, we got 30 teams through university recreation and well-being. We got our club football. I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you know about club sports, you know about the club football team. Like I mentioned, the club D1 hockey, there's club D3 hockey, there's soccer, there's lacrosse, there's figure skating and fencing, there's everything. So if you want to get a little bit of a shout out on the GioMoShow, DM me. Let me know. I'll get you on the show. And pretty soon we're going to be recording one with women's club lacrosse. That one will be coming out soon. That interview should be recorded about tomorrow. So keep on the lookout for that. But to go through it, club football, after a tough game against their rival Ohio State Sunday the 17th, which you heard me and Jacob Verostic on WXOU call that game. So after a tough loss to the Buckeyes, the club football team travels to MSU this Saturday to take on the Spartans and to wash that bad taste out of their mouth. And they should be getting star running back Jacob Mills back as well, who was absent in the Ohio State game. So be sure to look out for him to make a difference for the Golden Grizzlies. Club D1 hockey, as I mentioned before, they take on the RIT Tigers not only once on Saturday, but they also take them on Friday. So to kind of simplify that, Golden Grizzlies, RIT Tigers, Friday at 8:55 and Saturday at 7 p.m., both at Suburban Ice Rochester. Games are free for students to go and watch, and children under 5 are free as well. So be sure to get down to Suburban Ice Rochester, support your D1 club hockey, and that's the hockey that we got here at Oakland University. So if you need some action on the ice, then that is the place to go. Men's club lacrosse. They've begun their practices. I've seen them practicing around here and there, around the upper fields, around the track and field complex. A lot of club teams, they do their practices around there. But I've seen them getting into the action. They also have a game scheduled against Saginaw Valley for October 21st at 2 p.m. So mark your calendars for that, and some more information to come up about the men's club lacrosse team. We may or may not see an interview of them on the GioMoShow. But speaking of which, the women's club lacrosse team, I've seen them start their practices. They do them late at night out at the upper fields. According to their Instagram, they got a fall 5v5 tournament taking place on October 7th. So that is definitely something to be excited about. And before I continue any further with your club sports sprint, club sports blitz on the GioMoShow, if you are at all interested in joining these clubs and being an athlete, if you played in high school and you didn't think Oakland was the place to play, you didn't get any D1 offers, or you didn't get any college offers like that, club sports are the place for you. That is the niche that they fill in the sports world. It may not be one that's glorious. It may not be one that you're going to get the TV contracts and all that kind of stuff. That's not what club sports are. Club sports are for those who absolutely love the sport and are willing to give everything to it and to do everything they can to continue playing. That's what I love about club sports. And I was supposed to say this in the beginning, or now we're saying it in the middle. But, I love these club sports because, I love what they do. And I love the work that they put into it, and everything they do is out of pure passion, because it's sometimes it's out of their pocket. Sometimes the transportation is run by them. A lot of them are just strictly student run. Not all of them have coaches. Some of them are self-taught, so it's everything through passion is what these club sports are. And to reel it back in, if you're interested in joining any of these clubs, if you got that fiery passion for your sport, then go to myrecwell.oakland.edu. That's a university recreations website. Go under the club sports tab, and they got a list of all of them. And I mean it, they got a lot of them. I mean it when I say figure skating, and they got fencing and stuff like lacrosse and running, and just off the top of my head, they got everything here at University Recreation and Wellbeing. So to wrap things up, club softball, they have their schedule out on their Instagram page, and their let's call it their nearest event is going to be an invitational tournament held in Indiana, from October 7th to October 8th. So that weekend, the Golden Grizzlies are going to be on the road for a softball tournament to kick off the season. Then later, they play Michigan in Ann Arbor. They play Michigan State at East Lansing. They play Adrian College at home in March, and then Bowling Green at home in April. So be sure to follow them and to follow all the club sports on their Instagram pages. If you just search Oakland Club Softball, Oakland Club Lacrosse, Oakland Club, you'll find them on Instagram. They got their page. That's where you're going to get most of their information from. If you want more details on your club sports, then definitely give them a follow. So, we have now completed the Club Sports Blitz here on the GioMo Show. We're going to take a quick break here. But before that, I got a message for you guys. We got a new show on WXOU, the Eli and Andrew Show, Thursdays at 10 p.m. on WXOU. The feature late night show on WXOU, hosted by Eli Sepulveda and Andrew Deacon. And after 10 p.m., the FCC guidelines, they tend to die down a little bit. The language becomes a little bit more mature, and you can have just a little bit more fun at night. So listen to Eli and Andrew as they ask their guests the wildest questions you've ever seen. And not only the wildest questions, but ones they wrote for each other to ask the guest. So Eli and Andrew write questions for each other. They haven't seen it before the show starts, and they have a wonderful guest in to be the recipient of such questions. So be sure to listen to them tonight at 10 p.m. Eli and Andrew on the Eli Andrew Show. So we're going to be right back on the GioMo Show 88.3 FM after this short message from WXOU.
Hi, this is Mark Eibold out of Pavement, and you're listening to WXOU Auburn Hills 88.3 FM, college radio from the campus of Oakland University.
Ice, baby, I saw your girlfriend and she's eating her fingers like they're just another meal.
Which allows its community of student DJs the freedom to play whatever they please on air, including music, sports, news, and more. So join me by setting your radio dials all the way to the left and listen in.
Pure College Radio, baby. We're back here on the GioMo Show. Giovanni Mosheri here in studio. And we got your Oakland NCAA sports update coming right up. We're going to start with women's soccer. Their most recent game was a single one against Northern Kentucky Thursday the 21st. We were supposed to call that on WXOU. However, staffing issues halted the broadcast. However, let me give you the highlights here. So, it was 0-0 after the first half. It was a lot of kind of back and forth. There was a little bit of a lethargic feeling to the game, and that's just not my words. That's Coach Juan Pablo Ferrero's thoughts as well. But once the second half got started here, that's where the action started to pick up a little bit. In the 70th minute, Northern Kentucky's Erika Cornett scored a goal assisted by Shea Shipley to give the Nors the lead 1-0 at the 70th minute. And at that point, Oakland was definitely in a rush to get a goal themselves, to either save themselves with a tie or to get another one on top of it to win the game. But what Oakland got was a very exciting, very surprise shot by Frankie Mudd assisted by the keeper, Julia Zangirl, as Frankie just kind of took it off the dribble. At the 87th minute, about 3 minutes left to go in the game against Northern Kentucky at home. It was a beautiful day. You guys, if you look at my Instagram at Mosheri_Giovanni, then you see that we kind of changed up the schedule with the GioMoShow a little bit. That's where we pre-recorded it last week, and this game was why. It was a beautiful day, and at the Oakland soccer field, like, we had to get going. Frankie Mudd, 87th minute, shoots it from beyond the 18, from darn near midfield, finds the keeper out of position just a little bit too forward, and launches that thing up and above over the keeper's head to tie the game 1-1. And thus the Golden Grizzlies headline reads, Frankie Mudd's late game heroics guides Oakland to a 1-1 draw against NKU. And that's exactly what happened. This was also featured on SportsCenter. Was I believe, number 8 of the week. So be sure to check out Oakland women's soccer's Instagram and Twitter for that highlight. Just to show, like, hey, we got some national coverage with that sweet goal from Frankie Mudd. And I was able to talk to head coach Juan Pablo Favero on GrizzVision. I got a little bit of that official. On me. I was talking to Coach Favero on GrizzVision and asked him about what he told the team after the first half. He thought that they needed a little bit more energy. He asked them to give a little bit more, and they seemed to be a little bit lethargic, as I mentioned earlier. And after halftime, they brought it. They got that energy. They picked it up a little bit. I asked him about Frankie Mudd's goal. I said, Coach, did you expect her to even shoot that? Did you expect that to happen? And he kind of smiled and kind of went back and forth, and what he told me was Frankie can shoot it from anywhere, and it's kind of something that they would like to. I mean, obviously, you would want to kind of keep secret in the horizon, keep that in the down low that Frankie Mudd can really score from anywhere. But he, was he shocked that it went in? Only a little bit was the vibe I got from Coach Favero. So after that game against Northern Kentucky, after a draw 1-1, Golden Grizzlies are 3-4-4 overall and 1-0-2 in conference. Their next game is going to be an away trip this Saturday against Wright State at 1 o'clock, and then they return home on October 5th at 5:30. Also, Thursday at 5:30 against the Robert Morris Colonials. I might have to move the GioMoShow again to accommodate that game. Hopefully the weather was as nice as the Northern Kentucky game. But that's all she wrote for women's soccer. Let's go down to men's soccer. So their latest couple games was a conference one at IUPUI. That was one that was exciting. Oakland got the lead early in the game with Mikey Ketterman scoring in the first 7 minutes off an assist from Vile Ahola. Oakland goes up 1-0 in the first half. But IUPUI, they didn't give up. The Jaguars were tough. That was the first game that me and Harjit Buttar, we called last year for, that was the first game we ever tried broadcasting on WXOU. It didn't work, obviously, but it was against IUPUI at the Oakland soccer field on senior night, and IUPUI is a good team. And they proved that again in their house, beating the Grizzlies 2-1. And thus the headline reads, Oakland drops tough road decision to IUPUI. But shout out to Mikey Ketterman for that awesome goal in the first 7 minutes. But you gotta give your flowers, gotta give your shout out to IUPUI for coming back and getting the win against the Golden Grizzlies. Their latest game was one against Michigan State themselves. Let me make sure what day that was. That was earlier this week, a matter of just a couple days ago. But let me make sure. So that was Tuesday, the 26th. The Golden Grizzlies went to East Lansing to take on the Spartans, a team that I've been told is nationally ranked, a team that I'm told should have beaten the Golden Grizzlies. However, final score was a 2-2 draw. Golden Grizzlies kept it up with the Spartans. And we had some fantastic numbers to look at. I was looking at the live stats as the game was going on. And, I wasn't able to stream on the Big Ten Network, of course, but kept up with the stats. And I noticed that Michigan State had 18 shots in the game and 10 shots on goal. Now, what does that translate to? That translates to keeper Michael Sly Jr. having 8 saves in that game. did allow 2, obviously, thus the score. But the Oakland offense, that's what kept it up. There was a goal from Owen Smith. There was a goal from Andrew Dejargian. I'm going to have to work on that name. Assist from Donovan Phillip, from Mohamed Hamoud. Again, I'm going to have to work on these names. But, just looking at the stats, it was an exciting game. Michigan State had 10 corner kicks, but, Oakland was able to keep up with the nationally ranked team for a 2-2 draw on the road. So, obviously, it's a draw. It's not something that you're not going to go too crazy about it. But, man, that's a great game. That's a great game to play against the Big Ten. As for upcoming games, or let's get to the season standings right now. As of right now, the Golden Grizzlies are 2-5-1 overall with a 1-2 record in conference. Their next game is going to be here at home this Saturday, 1 o'clock. They face the Milwaukee Panthers. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can listen to it on WXOU Live. We're going to have John Kloss play-by-play. We're going to have Harsh Buttar on color against the Panthers, and in a game that we could see the Golden Grizzlies make it back to 500 in the Horizon League and start to make that Horizon League push. So be sure to tune in Saturday at 1 o'clock on WXOU for your live sports. And to wrap up the Oakland sports, we had a very exciting weekend from the volleyball team. You heard both these games on WXOU. Youngstown State was Friday, the 22nd. This game, it was a tough one back and forth. It was me and Jacob Board. We were calling the game, and it was we'll give you the score. It was a 1-3 loss for the Golden Grizzlies. The Penguins were bringing it. Penguins were definitely bringing it that game. First set was 25-20. That was in favor of Youngstown State. They did it again in the second set, 25-20. Then Oakland kind of started to get the momentum back. In a situation they're down 2-0, they're going to have to make it all the way to set 5 to win the match against the Penguins, and they flipped the switch. 25-19 for the Golden Grizzlies in set 3, and then the fourth set was the one that ended the game. That was the one that Youngstown State got us 25-21. But Golden Grizzlies, they were trying to keep up with it. They made a great effort, but where some of the issues arose was some of the momentum stopping errors. Oakland didn't have a lead in very much of any of these sets except for the third one, but it was once Oakland got the ball back, I noticed that there would be something to kill the momentum, a self-inflicted wound, if you will. And that was something that going into the next game against Robert Morris, which is the following day, Saturday the 23rd, that was something that we knew the Golden Grizzlies were going to have to clean up. And clean up they did. Oakland, flipping the script from yesterday's game against Robert Morris, led the entire time, basically. Set 1 was 25-19, Oakland. 25-18, Oakland. 25-15, Oakland. Clean sweep of the Colonials in the arena on National Volleyball Day, no less. I didn't know that going into the broadcast with Joey Hayes on WXOU, but it was National Volleyball Day, and the Golden Grizzlies get a sweep. Afterwards, they were signing they had a lot of youth volleyball there. They were signing posters. They were, doing autographs and talking to the kids and being that inspiration, being those role models in the world of volleyball on volleyball's dedicated day. So it was a great game to call. Let's go through a little bit of some of the stats here. So Ainsley Goosey had 10 kills. Annika Prisby had 10 as well. Cesarini with 9 kills. That was something I noticed with the Golden Grizzlies. It was a spread-out offensive effort. Compared to when you look at what Robert Morris had, they had all their kills concentrated within a couple of players. And I kind of picked up on that during the game, was that Oakland knew that the kills were only going to come from a couple of people. And they put up, everybody in that corner. There was a time where I can't remember which set it was, but it was like, I believe Annika Prisby was involved in it along with one of her teammates, and it was just jump up at the net, 1 block, 2 block, 3 in a row before Oakland eventually got the point. And it was like, man, Oakland's got this one. Oakland figured it out. Oakland's got this in the bag. Ainsley Goosey, who I mentioned before, became the 5th player in Oakland volleyball history to hit over 70% in a single match. 10 kills, like I mentioned, tied for first amongst the Grizzlies, along with 5 blocks as well. Goosey was everywhere, man. Wild goose chase against the Robert Morris Colonials. I had to say something about it. Come on. So overall, it was just a great game. Great game to call with Mr. Hayes, Mr. Joey Hayes. Expect to hear more of him on WXOU Live Sports. But as of now, hold on, I missed a road match against IUPUI. Let me get the stats for you as they played IUPUI at the Jungle this past Tuesday. Let me give you a quick update on that. I missed that in my notes. Yeah, Oakland, they took the Jaguars all the way to set 5, winning it 3-2 on the road in IUPUI's house. Let me give you the scores. Set 1 belonged to the Jaguars, 25-16. Oakland flipped the script, 25-18. Oakland win. Now we're at 1-1 in sets. Set 3, back at IUPUI, 25-19. Set 4, back to Oakland, 25-17. It's like the team just kept going back and forth. The same score. They would win by more than 5. The other team wouldn't catch 20. And then set 5, up to 15. Oakland, they got it 15-13 to close it out against the Jaguars. Looking at some of the team leaders, Gentry Brown had a phenomenal game, 13 kills in that game. And that's something I even noticed against Robert Morris, was that Gentry Brown brings the heat, man. When she goes up for an attack, it is coming down quick. And that's definitely something that Gentry Brown flexed on the Jaguars all the way in 5 sets with 13 kills. Patty Cesarini had 7, and Ella Martin with 7 as well. Ainsley Goosey, picking up for where she left off against Robert Morris, had 7 blocks again. Libby Gentile with 6, Annika Prisby with 4. And just a great game. I wish I had more notes on it against IUPUI, but that is going to bring the current record of the Golden Grizzlies to 9-7 overall and 3-1 in conference, baby. That is how business is done at Oakland University. Well done to the Oakland volleyball team. Be sure to follow all your D1 team. Be sure to follow all of your NCAA D1. Now that I'm talking about club sports, I gotta kind of specify it a little bit. But be sure to follow all of them on their Instagram and Twitter pages for all news and highlights and scores and stats and everything that you're going to need about your Golden Grizzlies. And that right there is going to wrap up our Oakland sports update. Coming up next, we're going to hear about our Detroit Lions. We finally get into the NFL. We get some of that game day going. First, we got to talk about the game against the Falcons. We're going to take a breeze through Week 3 of the NFL, which was wild. This Week 3, even just if you isolate the Sunday 1 o'clock spot, things were bananas in the NFL at Week 3. So we're going to talk about that. And then later on in the show, stick around. We're going to give you my thoughts, my predictions, what I'm feeling for tonight's game of the Lions at Green Bay on Thursday Night Football. Remember, Fox 2. Don't go to Amazon Prime. That's going to be at 8:15. So we're going to get into all of that. But first, another message from WXOU. Fridays at 8. Listen to Friday Night Groove right here on WXOU. Hosted by DJ RBJ. Since 2011, Friday Night Groove is your home for some of the best soul, jazz, electronic, indie, and alternative music here at the station. He also has interviews with artists and one of the best radio voices in the game. You can go to his website, FridayNightGroove.com, and follow at Trill Gunderson. On Instagram, that would be TRIL Gunderson. You can follow him on Instagram to get the latest on the show. Listen to Friday Night Grooves, Fridays at 8 p.m. on WXOU. We'll be right back here on the GioMoShow.
The meat industry is drastically damaging the environment. Animal products use 3/4 of the world's agricultural land and are responsible for 2/3 of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Eating less meat isn't just beneficial for the environment. Switching to a plant-based diet can reduce caloric intake and also help lower cholesterol. These are just some of the many reasons why becoming a vegetarian is one of the best ways to go green. This message is brought to you by WXOU.
The following is an actual voicemail from a WXOU listener.
Yo, I'm just calling to about something that doesn't mean in the grand scheme of things, but I'm trying to listen to sports radio driving home after working my talk today all day, and they're talking about lattes and pumpkin spice flavored foo-foo drinks from Starbucks. I don't even know what they're talking about, and there's so much to talk about relating to sports. Why the are they talking about all that bullshit? I just want some sports, damn it! All right, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.
Y'all ready for this?
At WXOU, we have a home run lineup of sports shows, including slam dunk coverage of all men's and women's basketball games. We don't mess around when it comes to sports, so turn your dial to 88.3 FM WXOU.
Welcome back to the GioMoShow on 88.3 FM WXOU, where we do not mess around with sports. Like mentioned in the promo, I love that promo. We got live basketball, we got live everything here at WXOU, and we'll get you that sports, darn it, in response to that promo. I love that promo. Anyway, welcome back to the GioMoShow. Giovanni Moschieri here in studio, and we got your football therapy, baby. The doctor is here. Sit down, relax, and we'll give you that football therapy that you need oh so badly, as I do too. So, week 3 of the NFL, we're going to get into that, but first let's talk about our Detroit Lions, as they really beat the Atlanta Falcons, the previously undefeated Atlanta Falcons, the previously feared and revered and best run game in the league and the best running back in the league and best mustaches in the league. Those Atlanta Falcons. Well, they came to Detroit and got a half dozen on the board and went home. That's right. The Detroit Lions, 20-6 was the final score in favor of the Lions, who, let's be real here, they were short a few guys. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, out. Taylor Decker, out. David Montgomery, out. Other O-line, I can't remember specifically, but a lot of the O-line, out. And, Amon-Ra St. Brown even had a steel toe in his shoe, or a steel plate in his shoe, which he's tough enough. It's not going to bother him, but still, the Lions were kind of short on the things we needed. But we had everything that we did need, and what showed up in that game was the defense, baby. The defense that has shown improvement since last year, or even, let's call it continuing the trend from the last 10 games of last year. That defense lit it up against the Falcons in front of a crowd that was, according to TJ Lang, was just as loud as they were in Seattle. The fans were there, and the fans were wild, and definitely helping the defense, I would think, and definitely screwing up the Falcons. That's what we do here. That's how we do business. Well, let's talk about that defense a little bit. And before, especially against the Seahawks, we got no pass rush. And the issue was, where's the pass rush? We had pressures on Mahomes in week 1, but then we got nothing against Seattle. Where's the pass rush? What's happening to Hutchinson? Where's he been? I even asked, where's Hutchinson? I was questioning whether that all the holding stuff that we've seen on Hutchinson and all the double teams and this, and that, how much of it, I asked the question, how much of that is on Hutchinson how much or how long until we just expect Hutchinson to get past that? Because a lot of elite edge rushers, they get that kind of treatment, but they still get that work done. Myles Garrett still gets that work done. Bosa, Watt, they get that work done. Parsons, you know what I mean? You think these players don't get doubled? So that was the question that I was asking, after the Seattle game. But what did I get when we faced the Falcons? And, in a game where I didn't even think there would be many opportunities for sacks because of how many times they run the ball. Well, we got 7 of them. We got a Baker's half dozen. I guess, 7 sacks is a Baker's half dozen, we'll call it. So, and everybody was involved in this too. Let me just go down the stats here. So, you had Benito Jones. He started up the sacks for the Lions. Ali McNeil, he got one. Derek Barnes, Charles Harris, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, or not Brian Branch. We'll get to him later. And Jack Campbell, these dudes got sacks. Hutchinson had 2. And the defense was just flying all over the place. And it was awesome to see. This is the defense that we were looking for, especially with all the free agency signings that we had. And even with that, we didn't even have CJ Gardner-Johnson. We didn't have the ski mask, which I guess we can't really use anymore, but still. We didn't have our best free agency pickup. We didn't have the leader on defense. And we still did. And we still did that damage. We did that work. And who was, besides Aiden Hutchinson, who led the Lions to that defensive victory? Who spread the message? Who sent the message to the entire team was Brian Branch, the B2 Bomber. That's a nickname that I'm particularly fond of. You look on his stats in the game. The rookie in the second round had 11 solo tackles. He didn't have any help. 11 solo tackles, 3 of them for a loss, 2 pass deflections as well. And let me tell you, there was that one hit. I believe it was Tyler Algier, the backup but still talented running back for the Atlanta Falcons. I believe he put a big shoulder into Branch when he was going in for a hit. The very next play, meets him in the backfield, gets him proper form, shoulder in, wrapped up on the legs, and picked him up and slammed him down, WWE style. That's what Branch is about. He's about that work. And it was awesome to see. And he even had a couple penalties he had one for horse collar tackling, which I thought was weird because it was, it happened to us and it wasn't called. And you barely see horse collar ever called. But, I mean, I'm not saying it was the wrong call, but still. I mean, just like in a general sense. But he got some of the penalties, and he was asked about it in the locker room. What did you think about those penalties? Do you think it hurt your team or whatever? And he's like, man, screw it. I'll get the penalty. I'll take the penalty. Because he's sending a message. Because he wants the next time that player goes in to remember it. To still feel it 3 plays later. To still feel that hit throughout the entire drive. To remember. And to next time come a little bit closer to flinching when he sees Brian Branch going in for the tackle. That's the message that he sends. That's what the big hitting, high flying, bring it to you safeties do in the NFL. And we got him as a rookie. Brian Branch, baby. What a game for him. Hutchinson, he was NFC Defensive Player of the Week. It's not Rookie of the Week anymore. He's just straight up the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And with all due respect, Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons kind of took a break this week, I guess. But Hutchinson had 2 sacks, a strip sack. The second one was a strip sack at the end of the game that literally ended the game on the Falcons' last drive. Hutchinson batted it out of his hands, saw it, pointed at it, and dove on it to get it. That's the ultimate play if you're a defensive end, is to end the game on a strip sack. That's what kids in their first year of football dream of when they play defense. That is the 7th grade football dream of yours truly. I played linebacker in middle school, but still. That's the defensive play for that position in the end of the game. Some other stars in that game. I thought Anzalone had a great game. On the first drive, I wrote this down during the game because I keep notes sometimes. And I noticed that first drive, that 3 and out that we gave the Falcons, because we deferred and we were getting the ball in the second half, Anzalone had 2 of those tackles, and the first one on Bijan was a pop on the sideline. Whoo, man. Anzalone was bringing the hammer, set the tone on the first drive, set the tone that the rest of the team followed. I thought he had a great game. And he gets a lot of crap, Anzalone. And whatever. Yes, he's not Fred Warner. Come on. It's, for what he does and what he provides to this team is not only veteran leadership, but the dude's all over the field. He got the one sack against Geno Smith in week 2. That's a fact. That's not fiction. And he does a lot for this team. I see him as a pretty good linebacker. I wouldn't say great linebacker, because I mean, like, to put it, in a tier, I wouldn't say great, because great is Fred Warner, is Roquan Smith, is that. Those are great linebackers. Those are elite linebackers. Anzalone, pretty darn good linebacker, I would say. So he was bringing the hammer. He had two of the 3 tackles for that first 3 and out to set the tone. I thought that was awesome. Now, moving on to the offense, who stood out for the offense on the Detroit Lions. Without David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, rookie running back, had a pretty good game. He had 17 carries for about almost 80 yards, about 80 yards. That's a pretty good game. But what I noticed, like, I wrote this down during the game as well, was that I thought Gibbs was a little bit, or I should say, it's not Gibbs' fault. I'm not saying he stinks. No, that's not what I'm saying. But the run game just really wasn't working for a lot of the game, is what I saw. Because, Calais Campbell on the Falcons and the rest of that D-line, the linebackers. Falcons got a pretty good defense, is what I took away from that game. And when we try to run the ball, when it's trying to do like a zone run, like trying to sweep it to the right, have all the linemen pull, it was just swallowed up pretty quickly. So the game, I was just like, man, Gibbs is just not really, giving it to him is what you got to do, yes. But it doesn't seem to be working very well. But as the game went on, he popped off. He got about a 20-yard run towards the end of the game. Forgive me, multitasking and typing here. But just throughout the game, I thought, like, man, they're not. It's not looking pretty, the run game, without David Montgomery, because Montgomery is awesome. Because Montgomery is a hammer, is a bowling ball that's shifty. There it is. 17 carries, 80 yards for Jahmyr Gibbs. Now I got the box score up. And, we saw a few carries. Craig Reynolds, he had 4 carries. Donovan Knight had a carry, or had, 3 carries. So, I mean, we were just kind of waiting for David Montgomery. We'll talk about him in regards to tonight's game in a little bit. But Gibbs ended up having a solid game, almost 5 yards a carry. That long run I was talking about was a 21-yarder. Almost scored. And you know what? He had a good game. But I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for that open grass, that ultimate screen to get a couple blockers and he takes it to the house. I'm waiting for the Alabama stuff. Which, number 12 overall, you're going to expect that. And I think that's what everyone is going to be expecting of Gibbs, is to be that explosive, to be that game opening, that, man, nothing's working, give it to him, and he'll make it happen kind of stuff. And he's not a bad running back. This was a game where we had to get by without Montgomery, because he needed that 1-2 punch. So, still waiting on it, but great game by that rookie offensive player. But the other rookie offensive player that went off was the one and only Sam Laporta. Pretty sure he's Italian. I'm going with it. No one's told me he's not yet. But Sam Laporta, and my wild guess is to his Italian full name, Salvatore Laporta, because it just rolls off the tongue. 8 catches, 84 yards, and a 45-yard touchdown catch. Targeted 11 times, which is just one short of Amon-Ra St. Brown, to put it in relative terms. St. Brown had 12 targets. But Laporta, man, yards after catch. That's what tight ends are supposed to do. And he's doing it. That's what we needed from him. That's what and especially while we're waiting for Jameson Williams to come back. God, I hope he's good. God, I hope he's not washed. Or is rusty when he comes back. I just really want him to be good. But in the meantime, we got a mean tight end on our hands. Laporta can get after it, man. And I was really impressed with that game. I thought he did great. Targeted 11 times, man. That's St. Brown level for the Lions. I thought he just had a great game, and I'm excited to see what he does for the future. I'm excited for how Green Bay is going to be adjusting their defense after watching that tape to say, okay, we got to watch this kid more often. He's not just going to be throwing horizontal routes 5 yards short of the first down, like he's been the first couple games. He's not going to be throwing a 2-yard pass on 3rd and 6. You know what I mean? That kid can go deep. That kid can do it. So that was awesome. And the Falcons, ouch. Everyone, like I was saying at the beginning of this football therapy segment on the GioMoShow, was that the Falcons came in red hot. Falcons were undefeated. I mean, so was the rest of their division, but still. By the way, that entire division took a loss this week, which I thought was funny. But that rushing attack was sublime. It was like Ken and Barbie. Sublime! But this week, against the Lions, who doubled down on that run game, obviously you're going to have to, he held the Atlanta rushing attack to 44 yards on 20 carries. That's the whole team. That's Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier and Desmond Ridder and Kyle Pitts, who got -4 rushing yards somehow. That team didn't even crack half a football field of rushing yards. That's what we did. That's what our guys do. That was just awesome. And what was even surprising to me was how little the Falcons ran the ball in general. Just 20 carries. They threw. It was almost an even split. They threw the ball. Forgive me. That's not correct. They had Ridder throw the ball 38 times. He had 38 attempts, and was 21 for 38 with a passer rating of 70.2. It was weirded out. It was weirded out, and everyone else I've heard in the media was weirded out about it too. They didn't really run the ball as much. It's not pretty at first, but as you keep going, as you keep pounding the rock, it's supposed to start working eventually. But they just kind of went away from it, and they made Desmond, and I wish this was 10 p.m. because I have a funny nickname for Ridder, but it starts with SH and ends in itter. But, they had him throw it so much. I was really surprised. But whatever Arthur Smith decides to do, I guess, whatever makes it 20-6 Lions win, I'm fine with it. All right, we're coming up on our time here, so let's hurry it up, shall we? Let's get the rest of your football therapy in for the rest of NFL's Week 3. We're not going to go through every game, but this week was wild. Let's stay within division here. Bears and Vikings are done. Dead, gone, see you next season. They're both 0-3. That is sublime for the Lions. That means only Green Bay's in the way, and that's why tonight's so important. Again, we'll get to that towards the end of the show in a few minutes, as we're almost done here. But the Bears, they're looking pretty bad. And I have a quote from my, the GioMoShow's resident Bears fan, Angelo Grappito. We got his thoughts on the state of the Bears so far. That's been a weird week in and of itself. They're talking about FBI raids and defensive coordinator resigning, and that stuff was weird. And then they have to go face the Taylor Swift Chiefs. Like, dude, come on, that blows. But I asked Mr. Grappito for his statement on the Bears, and it is the following. Quote, "Oh man, that's a lot of stuff, lol. I think it starts with ownership. They just don't know how to run a football team. I think, honestly, everything there is an issue right now. And it's a combination of so many issues that's making it so rough. The team needs to clean house. Neither coordinator is doing well. And the defense, and for a defensive coach like Matt Eberflus, he's run a horrible defense. I know there are people who love to say that you've got to give the GM more time. But I'd like Poles gone. I would like Poles gone too. Even if you're willing to believe that he just hasn't been able to build a roster in his vision yet, the whole thing with the DC is a massive red flag. polls shouldn't be hiring people who end up getting raided by the FBI. There's questions on whether the FBI thing is true or not, but anyway, back to the quote. And even on a purely football basis, he hasn't been good. Bears have the opportunity to use two likely very high draft picks. They need to start fresh with that. One of their biggest issues has been half measures. They'll hire a coach, then a GM, then fire the coach, but the GM has to get to pick the guy, so the timelines never line up. They keep putting half the team in lame duck positions that make it difficult to evaluate anyone, difficult to hold people accountable, and difficult for anyone to even build their team and their vision in the first place. They, in my opinion, need to fully reset. Clean house, hire a good GM, and let the GM build a team without ownership influence. And they need to get rid of the stupid Bill Polian group that they had helping them make decisions on hiring. That's a very long-winded written explanation. I don't know how well it goes over text, but that's kind of the general gist of it. So thank you, Mr. Grappito. That is your state of the Bears. So getting back to the GioMoShow here. Where did my notes go? Found them. So that's the Bears. They lost bad to the Chiefs. Vikings choked against the Chargers. Isn't that an oxymoron? That's not something you see every day. In the battle of whose season dies, both Chargers and Vikings, playoff teams last year, start 0-2. They're in Minnesota. Whose season's going to die? And it's Minnesota's, baby. Now, Chargers were begging to lose that game with that horrible fourth down call, and I'm sure you've heard plenty of coverage of it throughout the week, so I won't dwell on it too much. But, man, like, they were begging to lose that game. But the Vikings wanted to lose that game more. That last play of the game, they didn't know what to do. They were trying to get a play call. The clock was ticking. They won't spike it. They had no idea what they were doing, and Hawkinson is targeted and gone. I love seeing Hawkinson. I'm pretty sure he got stripped. I'm pretty sure Hawkinson had a fumble against the Chargers. So I love seeing not only that happen, but to see our rookie tight end Sam Laporta show up and show out. So Vikings are gone, and the Chargers survive at least. And for the Packers last week, it looked like gravestones for them too against the Saints. It was 17-0 in the fourth quarter. Saints lead in Lambeau. Derek Carr got hurt, yes. But that's 2 touchdowns and some change. Saints lost the game. Packers came back from a 17-0 deficit in the fourth quarter. That's 15 minutes. All it took was 15 minutes for them to come back. Man, it was impressive. I'm split between whether that was a good Packers win or that was a bad Saints loss. Obviously, it could be both, but it gives now a lot more excitement to tonight's game, which I keep teasing that I'll talk about, and I will in a few minutes, but we got a couple upsets to go through. But, Packers are looking not bad. Not totally bad. So to round up this week, Texans, they upset the Jaguars. That was weird. Colts upset the Ravens with Gardner Minshew. That was weird. Cardinals upset the Cowboys. That was weird. And the Browns stomp all over the Titans. Myles Garrett was followed by 2 tight ends, and it was hilarious. Myles Garrett all season has been just playing with the opposition. It's hilarious. And what's left? I'm curious. There's something left. Something crazy happened week 3. Oh, well, I guess I'll just move on. 70-20. I'm just kidding. We're talking about the Dolphins. Of course we are. 70-20. I don't need to go into the stats. The score speaks for itself. Broncos gave up. Dolphins couldn't help but score is what it seemed like. They were trying everything. I love the meme that was someone dressed up as Mike McDaniels in the crowd with a fake play sheet, and the meme reads Mike McDaniels is literally just having fans call the plays. He's saying, like, hey, choose a play, I'll run it. That's what it felt like in that game. That was just insane. Tua became the new Mr. Unlimited. That's Tua's now. So, and there's the talk of the Dolphins decided not to go for the record with a field goal, which they easily could have gotten. And, you know, they chose not to. They chose to keep it at 70 to become the second highest scoring and the second most yards, yada, 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 instead of the first. But for me, you missed out, dude. Dolphins missed out on unbelievable history by not going for that field goal. And obviously the reasoning is like, oh, that would be unsportsmanlike. Oh, that wouldn't be good for the game. Dude, you scored 70 points and now you're talking about sportsmanship? You gotta be kidding me. I think they should have just done it. The Broncos are dead anyway, so what's the difference between a 73-20 loss to a 70-20 loss? It's not a big difference. Okay, it's beating a dead horse, literally. Get it? Anyway, we're running short on time. Here is my quick preview of the Lions and Packers, and I might just record this separately and release it later on the GioMoShow's YouTube and Spotify. You know, as part of your football therapy. I might just do that. But to quickly give it to the live audience here on 88.3 from WXOU, on the GioMoShow, Lions got to win this one. This is for the division. This one sets the stage for the rest of the season. This is a big game. This is prime time. This is a division rival. This is your chance to prove that Jordan Love is not the answer for what the Packers need. They need to prove that Jordan Love and that new regime is no longer Kings of the North. This is your chance to do it. In their house, on prime time. The next time you play them is going to be in your house on prime time on Thanksgiving. Awesome. But you got to do it now. Get it while the getting's good. You play Carolina next week. Remember that. Green Bay is very, very injured. Green Bay is missing David Bakhtiari. They're missing, they have a limited Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. They have a injured Jair Alexander. There's a lot missing on that team. Jordan Love has been making it work, though. That's the thing that kind of scares me, though. I'm a little bit nervous coming into this game. It's the Packers at Lambeau in prime time. History shows that that's probably a favorite matchup for the Packers. And I'm pretty sure the line's like Packers like 1.5, I think. Maybe plus 1.5. I don't know I forget who's favorite, but it's close. But Lions, they get Taylor Decker back. They get David Montgomery back. They're coming off that monster defensive game, proving that injury to CJ is bad, but not terrible. We're built for it. We're built to last. And not only that, but you're lucky this year and you get to play them at the end of September. It's not the frozen tundra of Green Bay like it usually is, even though it's frozen tundra is an old Lombardi thing, and obviously it's not as crazy as it used to be. But this is your time to shine. This is what you got to do. Lions are humming, and they got to keep humming in Green Bay. Shut them. You got to come close to the defense. You got to sack Jordan Love. You got to bother him. You got to rattle him. You got to force them to run the ball, which we've been good at stopping. That's what you got to do, man. I think the Lions are going to put up enough points. I think it's not horrible weather conditions, so like Goff can only play in a dome. I don't think that's a big deal. And we got David Montgomery back, dude. That one's huge. That one is he is just so good with this team, David Montgomery. He's a bowling ball with surprising shiftiness. Well, I guess between the tackles is what you could say. And gets it feels like 5 yards every time. So we're running low on time here on the GioMoShow. I'm really excited for this game. 8:15, Fox 2. Screw Amazon. It's a local game. You can watch it on Fox 2. And let's get ready to roll, man. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a great game. And you'll get more in-depth thoughts on the GioMoShow on YouTube and Spotify. Or just YouTube. Excuse me. Just the GioMoShow YouTube channel. You get a more in-depth analysis and prediction and feelings going into the Green Bay game, as we are now out of time here on the GioMo Show. This has been Giovanni Mosheri, Sports Media Director of WXOU. You can find the GioMo Show at any time, YouTube and Spotify. We're going to get back to your regularly scheduled program, and we'll see you next week, Thursdays at 6 on WXOU. This is the GioMo Show.